Okay, Porsche Panamera 970.2. This is the spoiler now removed from the car. Have a little bit of a problem with the overall operation and ceased to function. Bit of reading around the internet, and obviously a motor is a common failure. That's this one. Sourced a new part. Bit of a tip trick here in terms of you'll see there's two part numbers on that original OEM one. Rubbers just remove and they move across to the new parts, but the actual part itself is quite common. It's an actuating air conditioning flapper apparently. So you're looking for the Bosch part number, which is this one here, not the Porsche part number here, which clearly triples the price, frankly. Pick this up sort of £45 GBP. So we're going to install the new motor and hopefully that repairs the situation. At the same time, I've removed the vertical riser bars as well, because as you can see they're all covered in crud or grease, which is essentially needs replacing. So we'll do these at the same time. These caps then fit back on here. They're a bit tricky to remove and have broken a couple of the plastic clips, which is quite annoying, but they're apparently that's quite common as well, that they do break. So I'll do a little bit of a video in a moment where we flip it over, install the motor. I'll get these back in first in terms of the actual install, and then we'll go to the car and you can see how it fits on the car overall. Okay, so I've re-greased these using some lithium grease, sort of familiar on cycling parts actually. It's covered with Teflon, so it should be good to make it work. Just a point to note, you need to insert the motor aspect into the actual, I'll show you under here. There's some rods that need to be inserted, and you need to get into this part where the motor sits to actually move them in and out. You can see that moving now. There is a left and a right hand, I've noticed, so this one's going in this side obviously. Okay, so they're in now. I had to push the spoiler down slightly just to enable the actual arm to work with the actual spindle itself, to enable us to get that in there and then push the horizontal spindles across into the actual motors themselves. So I mean, bar putting the plastic covers on, I think that's good to go. Obviously greased up the motor, the part themselves, the actual conversion, and then the spindle itself with the grease, so that should be good. I'm going to proceed to install the motor now. Okay, so this is really quite straightforward. Motor came out of there. Put the new motor in, obviously, with the rubbers assigned. There's the loom wire there, which just connects to the actual motor itself. And then we've got these horizontal bolts, which then work these items back down here, as I mentioned a moment ago. So a bit of fiddling and poking around there. I think I should be able to get this into its harness quite straightforward. Okay, that's seated nicely in there now, and the horizontal poles or control arms are in now. So that should be ready to go back in the car with the caps on. Just on the car side then, so this is the top car. So you have to drop the spoiler in there, but sort of twist it in, sort of goes in like that. And then in terms of the underside of the boot, this is what you're looking at. There's some 10mm socket points here, all the way along, about 6 or 8 I think. You have to take the trim out. Here, pulling it from the clips all the way around using a interior removal tool, and there is a proper bolt here which is disguised as a rubber, So that sort of just pulls, and then there's a separate bolt on this side here and this side here, which requires proper removal. The rest of it just pulls off the clipso.
Quick one as well, this is it reassembled. I did actually put it back in, and obviously through considerable amount of time of no use in terms of the spoiler, it's actually quite squeaky and grindy on its way up. Seemed to be only when it was particularly cold and damp in the morning. Dry out in the afternoon it was fine. But what I have done is I've greased up all of the moving parts of the assembly here, including, there's quite a large spring, spin it around here, which I think might be part of the root cause, so I'll put some lithium grease on there. Hopefully that cures it. But yeah, it's good to go back in now. Just whilst I've got it here, then I'm just going to pop it back into the car. I fed the wiring loom through the hole, obviously, but you got to twist it in. So you can do this without damaging the paint. As you can see, it just sort of drops in, and then you twist it that way effectively into the hole, line up the bolt holes. It's pretty easy once you have twisted it in. Best thing to do is just get one of these on in terms of the actual nut itself, and then you've got the spoiler held pretty much firmly so you can line it up with the rest. Did have issues when putting it in the first time. You've got to really close the spoiler and line it up so that it all looks square in the actual frame positioning. So something to bear in mind once you have it in, before you put the trim on, obviously, otherwise you'll be in a whole world of pain taking the trim back off. But yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bolts to secure it on. As you can see, it doesn't quite line up. Need to move it down. There's too much of a gap here and not enough here. That's fairly straightforward. There we go. Much better alignment now. Fully functional. All working. No squeaking. Okay, just reinstating the trim into the car. Essentially you've got to feed through the boot switch and the two luggage lights. There's 4 bolts. There's one just here that's under a cap. You should be able to see that. There's also another one just in there. Repeat on both sides. And then there's also a plastic cap that goes in there. But you can see there's a whole raft of clips and what have you on the inside, so that's probably the most challenging bit, is getting those lined up. But I think we're almost there really. Once that's done, we're good to go and complete.